Gundam.tk presents Gundam F90 Type A.D.S. Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, GundamReviews.net, and if you can make out the box all the way back there, that is the Gundam F90. You've seen the intro, the unbox, and all the parts of the Gundam and the ADS type itself, but now it's time to turn all of these into the massive 15-meter mobile suit that it should be. And by that I mean 15 centimeters. When it's all put together at 14.8 meters, this Gundam F90 is going to be looking pretty small, but actually I would say not all that bad, and that's thanks to the plastic injection that Bandai is going to provide all over the place. It's very noticeable down on the legs to have those red and yellow color apps down there. The fact that you're actually getting blue plastic on for the paint apps, I really like this. I always have since you see things like the Alex to have a little bit of color there. The backpack, of course, isn't going to be looking very good because I broke this gray part off. I should probably just break off the other one before ordering something to fix that up. But in the meantime, if you didn't paint the red or the green up there and fix up the eyes and the head, it would look pretty poor. But overall, it's colorful and very Gundam-y, very old school, which is, I suppose, is the way it should be. You can see with the upper body, though, that the over-reliance on seals is going to hurt a little bit with the gray and the yellow, and his face really does look too long, and you can also see the separation between the gray and the blue there. So certainly not perfect, but again, very old school. For articulation, you're going to be able to move these skirts independently, and these side skirts are going to move, but not very much. Because it's just on a ball joint there, or a polycap, it's not going to move anything more than that. You're going to get a kick forward if you want to, if you don't mind losing some armor along the way. And the knee is going to bend 80 degrees there, and it's also going to bend forward for a very awkward looking I just broke my knee. The ankles are going to move the forward and back and off to the side. They're just on a polycap there. The upper body isn't going to rotate whatsoever because that's solid in there. You're going to have the shoulders go around. It's good that they rotate here at the elbow. Would be better if it was up at the shoulder. But you're not going to get even 90 degrees to bring that up to hold the weapons. And if you want to break your elbow, you can also go ahead and do that. And the head is going to be on a polycap here, so it's going to go up and down as well as rotate around. But it only has that single point of articulation. Arming them up means popping off this part, which is just a solid piece. You can then plug this into the polycap that's attached. Take this part, and when you're actually taking apart the fist, you're probably better off using a modeler's knife to actually split this apart because it's not even going to stay on all that well once you actually put it on. But I've already broken one part, so don't break another because that hand doesn't want to come apart on its own. And silly me for thinking that the shield would actually attach on there. This is only for putting it onto the back. If you want to put that on the backpack so you can put a big 90 so everybody can see who he is and have something very ugly from the front because it's going to be all white. But instead, that means you have to rely on this single little part here to attach into the hand, and you can imagine how well this and how secure this is going to be in terms of actually holding it in place. And oh yes, the joys of old kits, because even if you do get it to stand up in the hand, which is not likely as it's going to want to fall down there, it's also going to want to fall out of the shoulder. And even if I want to try to sell this guy as being pretty cool, really, it's only problems there with the arms falling off. And I'm pretty much having to rely, I've tried to hook it up here to keep the shoulder, to keep the shield attached on, and I've tried to do pretty much everything I can outside of sticky tack. As it is, it's just sort of sitting down there, leaning on his foot. But if you find that to be attractive, in the F90, its shield should be one of its most noticeable features. Very disappointing that I can't do something as simple as actually hold it in place. Yes, sticky tack is the last bastion of the lazy to keep that shield on. I just put it on the blue part there on the forearm to keep it in place. Anyway, for height comparison, 1/100th F90 here versus the high-grade 1/144th age 1 over there. And you gotta wonder how much this actually influenced the age. We've already seen the idea of swapping backpacks come out, especially in things like Seed, whereas with this you're actually swapping off limbs, but you wonder how much of a predecessor is this one. In terms of actual size, though, it is much larger, and it should be. However, it's going to be quite small once we start putting it beside newer 1/100ths. This is the same camera position before I properly zoom out. Next to the Master Grade 7 sword, well 6 are on there anyway, you've got the 00 Gundam there on the right. This is a new Master Grade at almost 19 meters, so you can just see that in addition to this being very small at 14.8, that also in the old school it seemed like they were just cheaping out on plastic or what, I don't know. But everything just comes across as being a little bit smaller than it should, and this certainly doesn't look like it's in the same league in terms of power. This is the fixed figuration Penelope, and this one is actually too small for the scale that it should be in 1/144th. So remember, picture this next to the H1 next to this guy, and you can just imagine that if this guy was properly 1/100th, how much of a monster he would be compared to this little kid. And looking at something more contemporary for this guy, you've got 1993's Lydia, which is also a non-grade 1/100th. However, this guy should be significantly shorter, and you can see that even the V-fins aren't going to add much for height, but that really this guy just looks to be a little bit smaller than he should be. And even the Burger-Gyros makes him look a little bit out of proportion. Getting into the multitude of beautiful poses that you can do with this guy, well, you can have him look down the barrel of the rifle, and you can have the arm come out, except you're going to have a couple of problems. One with this being the weight issues, that even if you do bring the shield up, it's very easy for it to collapse downwards. And also the way the hand fits into the beam rifle there, it's not a snug fit, and actually it's sort of at a very awkward angle, which isn't going to help with the way that it hits the forearm. So really, unless you have it locked into place, it's not going to look good at most angles. That sticky tack is being a lifesaver, keeping that arm or the shield in place. And remember, outside of the fact that these arms want to fall off at the drop of the hat, he can actually bring his beam rifle across, which is not going to look all that bad. If for whatever reason you wanted to recreate a last shooting scene, his head isn't going to move up very much, but the beam rifle can actually go up there, and then you lose the weight issues because actually the gravity is holding it into the shoulder. Honestly, this is like the 6th time in the last 3 minutes. And that there is what happens when sticky tack loses its attachment abilities. If you want to go melee style, you can't really dual wield if you want to use the shield because it can only be held in by the hand. And the beam sabers, if you pop them out, remember that they're white when they're being stored in the backpack, and they're going to be all blue, and that's going to protrude down through the bottom of the hand, so you're going to see that quite clearly. But that beam saber looks good because it's clear parts, but overall, it's just way too small. As perhaps this will illustrate, this is from the F90, this is from the high-grade H1, and this is from real-grade Freedom. I'm going to wrap up my look at the regular mobile suit mode here for the F90. Obviously, there's lots of problems, but then again, some of the visuals, it does look pretty cool because of just its colorful nature. Anyway, don't forget to stay tuned for the verdict, where I'll have all the good and bad things listed in one place comprehensively, but most importantly, in the next part, it's time to add the A, the D, and the S parts, and see how this guy's going to look with even more weapons on. Anyway, it should be a lot of fun. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next part. You know, you've got a million weapons on, but if I got inside, what would you be able to do if you couldn't actually use your hands to grab the beam sabers?